love it, and would not go away saying, oh my God, dig me out of Westminster Abbey, I don't really deserve to be there. I think he would say, way to go, way to go, way to go. So I don't see the fact that science is constantly changing as being something which is necessarily threatening. It's really rather like evolution. It's an ongoing process.
I'll throw something out there. It is along that vein. You know, that last part I told you about the history of hominids, you would have read something, you would have seen something completely different 20 years ago, and I predict you will see something. When I say different, it doesn't mean throw it all out. It means reshaped, rethought, reconfigured the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
We're already on that. I mean, this little hobbit, you know, Homo floresiensis, which has been discovered in Indonesia, it's not making people say, oh my gosh, evolution is not true. It's not making people say, oh my gosh, Lucy is irrelevant, but it's saying, oh my gosh, it looks like, you know, hominid evolution was a lot more fuller and more exciting than we ever thought before.
So I'd like to, I'm sorry, I just got to jump in for a second, because I want to make sure that everyone is hearing the distinction between refinement and whether we expect that complete ideas are going to be thrown out. So Einstein refined Newton. That didn't change the fact that Newton's predictions about the way gravity works and the scale that he talked about for the macroscopic sorts of objects was wrong. It was refined. We still have a law of gravity. I expect you're absolutely right that our understanding of the details of how evolution has worked and whether large mutations or small mutations, whether things can jump or whether it's very gradual, these issues of rate and whether there's drift as well as natural selection, all of that's true, and it's very vigorously worked on by scientists all around the world. There is constant improvement and refinement. But I don't want people to take away from that the conclusion that I sometimes see in the sensationalistic media reports about evolution and religion that, the scientists are debating this, so maybe it will go away. Maybe the fact of biological evolution, if we just wait a little bit longer, it's gonna go away. The fact is, we're refining the mechanisms by which evolution works, but scientists consider the body of evidence that supports the fact of evolution as absolutely overwhelming. And there isn't a doubt that a new discovery is going to be made that is going to make us believe tomorrow, oh, evolution didn't work, it didn't occur. And I think that's important because I think that that's a misconception that often comes when you hear that new things may be discovered or that new human fossils will make us think differently about human evolution. It's true that new human fossils are going to fill in details of human evolution. It's not going to change the fact that humans have evolved by modification from descent from other organisms that were already here, just as all the other organisms that are connected in a big tree of life.
If evolution and creation were to be, to kind of work together, I just don't see how that could be because in the Bible, there is no mention at all of any dinosaurs or anything like that. And, if that's really the way it went down, then how come there's all these fossils that support that? Wouldn't there be some documentation of that if God made it that way?
The Bible does not intend, nor should we expect it to give a total history of everything that's been going on in the world since its very beginning. Honestly, I have never even asked myself the question why there wouldn't be something like dinosaurs mentioned in the Bible, because that was simply alien from the purpose of the human authors of the Scripture. It was not important enough to even include that kind of material, even if it was known about. I rather doubt that the people who wrote the Scriptures were even aware that there was a time when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And there's simply, in my opinion, no reason why something like that should be included in a religious scripture.
But the only way I'm saying that the only way that could have happened, that evolution could have gone, or that creation could have gone, like that the two could have happened, simultaneously or something, would be that if humans and dinosaurs were around at the same time, and we know that's not true.
I wonder if I could just sort of put in 2 cents worth here. Can we, say, take a particular scriptural event and look at it in the ways that I think are wrong and the ways that I think are right? Let's take Noah's flood. Noah's flood is very, very important for today's biblical literalists. It's funny that the flood seems to be more important than Abraham and Isaac, the Tower of Babel, or any of these things, because they want to see the flood as both a geological event and also something which mirrors Armageddon, which is coming. So the universality of the flood is very important. I would say, and I suspect, but I'll let him speak for himself, but I would want to say the flood just isn't about geology, it's not about shipbuilding, and it's certainly not about how you get rid of all that poo when you've got all those elephants on board, for 40 days. I mean, it really isn't in, sanitation engineering. I would say at least part of the story of Noah, as you remember, after they come to land, and then Noah's found drunk in his tent, I would want to say at least part of that story is that simplistic, universal solutions, let's just wipe everything out and start again and it'll all be cleaned up and everything like that. I think one of the things that those authors are trying to tell us is life's more complicated than that, and trying just to go in gangbusters and wipe it all out and start again and that everything then will be just fine often isn't the grown-up way to do things. Now, I'm not saying that's the only story. I'm not saying that's necessarily the story that Father Wiseman would want to pick on first, but I think that is at least a story, and it seems to me that that's a very important and very true story. So that's the sense in which I would want to read the Bible as being true and important, not about geology, but about human beings.
Sure, I agree.
Go ahead.
I have a question that might be a little bit off topic here, but I was raised a Catholic. I went to a Catholic school until I moved, until I was about 10 years old. And if I remember properly, Christians believe that humans are made by God in God's image perfectly and basically as we are meant to be. How do you reconcile that belief with the theory of evolution, which insists that we are constantly changing and evolving?
Well, first of all, I would say I personally do not think that to say humans are created in the image and likeness of God limits that statement to human beings. I think that, I do believe that God is the creator, the maintainer, and the goal of everything that exists. But I believe that anything that exists on Earth or anywhere in the universe, simply by being in existence, is to some extent and to some degree an image of God. Now, you might say that human beings, to a certain extent, image that in a fuller way than a microorganism. But I as soon as you hear, the book of Genesis say, human beings, let us make man and woman in our image and likeness, that doesn't rule out that other things, to some extent, also reflect the goodness, the beauty, the power of God. I think that would be my basic answer. Sure.
Let's go up here to the right.
So Catholics believe that we're endowed with souls and we have free will. How do you think that goes with evolution, that we have souls, that we have a special soul that no other animals have, and yet we also have free choice and free will?
Okay, here I might surprise you, but I honestly hope that some of you might actually get the book that I wrote. Seriously, because it's not incredibly complicated. And what I propose in there, and it's not mainstream, but I don't think it's unreasonable, is that there is a spiritual dimension, in my opinion, to every living thing. And I do not want to say that suddenly, for the first time ever, there was a soul or a spiritual element to human beings and never anything at all of the same sort in